Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for all things Starfield. My name is Luke, and today we're going to talk about the May update for Starfield. They're calling it Update 4. They just launched a video on YouTube, and there are 6 big updates that you need to know about, and we're going to go through those right now. I'm actually going to jump around in the video just a little bit so that you get the most important ones and the biggest ones first. Let's dive into it. Okay, so the biggest thing first, they talk about making their first land vehicle, and let's get into that now, and then I'll have some thoughts.
So Tim, we just talked to Joe and Isfan a little bit about Update 4 and what's coming, but is there anything else that you want to talk about that's down the horizon?
So the team is working on our first land vehicle, so you can drive around on planets. Obviously, we're working on more quests.
Okay, so that's all. That is all he says about land vehicles. He actually just says their first land vehicle, so singular. They are not, if we're taking that at face value, they're not building a whole slew of different, fleet of different land vehicles that you can operate. Just one, but he does say they're first, so it seems like it's something that they're looking at, they're thinking about, and it may expand on it in the future. The next big thing they talk about is 60 FPS support on console. Yes, console players rejoice. Let's hear what they have to say at 3:30 on the video timestamp.
We're focusing now on our Xbox Series X players with this update. We're giving them some settings where they can help prioritize between performance or visual. If they choose to prioritize performance, the target FPS will move to 60. And for players that have TVs that support VRR, they'll be able to choose between VRR 40 or VRR 60.
Okay, so this is great news. So we still have the visual mode. I like that they're not calling it quality mode, because I think that implies that another version is not quality. But anyway, they're calling it visual mode, which is capped at 30 frames per second. And now they have a performance mode that is targeting, like they said, targeting 60. Let's go back and take a look at that real quick. So display, you have your frame rate target and your prioritization, performance or visuals, move it up to 60 for your frame rate. It does have this little note here down at the bottom of the screen, asterisk, performance setting is intended for variable refresh rate displays. So I'm unsure if that means if you don't, okay, wait, it says right here, if you don't have a variable refresh rate display, VRR, screen tearing will occur when selecting 60 frames per second or above. So if you do not have a monitor or a TV that supports VRR, watch out for that. If you're getting some weird display issues going on, maybe change that back to visual mode and just enjoy it at 30 FPS. It's very possible they may continue working on that to try to get out of being chained to that VRR technology to just work with 60 frames for all monitors and all TVs. But if you have a modern TV or a modern monitor, you should be okay there. The next big thing they talk about is interior ship customization. I know a lot of people absolutely love the ship combat, love the ship building mechanic in Starfield. It's been very popular, and so I'm glad to see them putting some resources into that. Let's see what they say here. And this is at minute 152, 153 on the video.
All of the ship content in the game, and we've seen some really crazy stuff out there that I'm sure you guys have seen as well. But are you adding anything more to the ship customization?
Yeah, so people love to customize their ships. Like some of the builds out there are just mind-blowing. Some beautiful, beautiful stuff. So now we're turning our attention to the inside of the ships. So we're adding a decorate mode where you can go and fully furnish and customize the interior layout of the ships, place the furniture, decorations, basically everything you can do in outpost mode, we can now do that in the ship, and it's saved, and you can do that to your entire fleet. In addition to decorate mode, we're also offering a whole new set of empty habs. So basically, instead of pre-cluttered habs in the ship builder, we'll have a new set where there's no furniture, there's no decoration, nothing. It's a total blank slate, so our players can just kind of fill it up with their own stuff.
That's amazing. They'll really get to emulate whatever their personality showcases outside on the inside then.
Yeah, exactly.
So I absolutely love this. This is going to be terrific. I think this is really going to open up the game, just a new avenue for players to put their time in, their creativity in. Like they said, it looks like it's going to work just like the Outpost building, if you've got into that. And it's very possible that you didn't get into Outpost building or designing because you didn't like the Outpost system. But if you liked the shipbuilding mechanics, then this is a great opportunity for you to kind of come back to this design mechanic and just try it out. lots of people feel like this is going to be a better fit for people who want to design, because they're in their ship more, right? You're not always in your outpost, and when you are, you're kind of busy, like, just manufacturing things or crafting things or setting up all of your shuttles and all that. And so, like they said in one of the very first video, your ship is really your home away from home. And so I'm super excited they're introducing this, specifically this part about their empty habs. Like, it's almost like you're actually buying a new car, right? You're buying a new ship. It's brand new. You get to decorate it. You get to put your personality in there, your creativity. I think this is going to be super cool. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video so far. If you would, just hit that like button for me and let me know which of these updates you're most excited for in the comments. All right, let's keep going with the video. The next big thing comes to more gameplay customization options. This is taking the form in what a lot of people call like survivability mode or survival mode, where you really get to kind of tweak, like, okay, how much health does food give me? How much health how much damage do certain enemies give me? And so it looks like they're really kind of teasing out these options for you to really just design exactly how you want to experience the game. So let's listen to what they have to say, and then I have just a couple of thoughts on that.
We're also adding a bunch of gameplay options. So for that, players can really tune their experience how they prefer. We're adjusting things like capacity of vendor credits, the actual carry weight. Additionally, affects to difficulty. So some of those, depending on how you play, you can actually tune to be like space combat more difficult or gun combat less difficult. It's really up to you. And depending on how you balance them, it'll change how you get XP.
That's awesome. So you're really upping the ante for players that want an even bigger challenge.
Yeah, and with that, we actually are adding what's called the extreme difficulty. It sits above very hard, and it really, really makes you pay attention, especially for the higher level characters.
How about ship customization?
All right, so let's come back here. Let's give me back to that screen. Here we go. So this is a good snapshot of all the different customization options that we now will have in this kind of survivability mode, whatever you want to call it. So we got breakdown from enemy combat damage to player combat damage, enemy ship damage, player ship damage, aim assistance, ammo weight, carry weight, cargo access distance, vendor credits, medical item healing, food healing, sleep healing, sustenance, combat affliction gain, affliction treatment, affliction prognosis, environmental damage and afflictions, environmental damage restoration, and save on rest, save on weight, save on travel, yada yada. This is a lot more detailed than I was expecting. We had heard that they were working on something like this, and I'm very pleasantly surprised that they've teased this out to so many different ways that you can curate your own experience, whether that's for role-playing or just for your desired difficulty. Also note that these settings are also connected to your XP gain. And so it seems like they wanted to not just give you a way to simply customize it and make the game as easy as you wanted it to make, but they also wanted to put in, not necessarily a punishment, but I feel like they wanted to put in a little bit of a reward, right? Because like here, the player put the combat damage on very hard, and so they get an added 4% boost to their XP gain, which I think is really cool. And it gives you, in each one, it gives you, the little description of it and what each setting will do. So if you are someone who loves combat and you want the most combat, then check out that extreme difficulty. I may try it. I've tried very hard and it was fun, but sometimes very punishing. All right, the last big one, and then two more things after this. And after I cover these last two things, I'm actually going to talk about the Kind of Funny Games interview that Todd did just yesterday. It was published, and why I'm a little bummed about something he said. So stay tuned if you want to hear more about that. Right here, kind of starting the first of the conversation, they talk about maps, city maps, and also your loaded zone maps, as they call them. And so let's see what they have to say.
So we've seen a lot of feedback online that players really want a lot more utility and detail in our surface maps. So we took what's there, we blew it all up, and instead now we have a whole new aesthetic to the surface maps where you can see the terrain, all the detail in the terrain, trees, rocks, all the structures in the loaded zone. It's a lot easier to navigate. We've also made it easier to get around the cities. You can see markers for all the shops, the enhanced boutiques, restaurants, you name it, it's all there. It's a lot easier to get around now.
With Update 4, we're also
Okay, and then they start going into the gameplay options. But from what we can see here with the city maps, I was expecting something more like Fallout or Skyrim, and like a flat kind of surface map. But it looks like they've gone 3D here. Let's take a look at this again. So this is the map of New Atlantis. Again, I was expecting just kind of a flat map and like, okay, up here, you know, in your quadrants or whatever, this is where everything is. So they've gone 3D with it. And so it's almost like the world map would have been in Skyrim, but they made it 3D. And I have all the little icons for your restaurants, for your shuttles, for your vendors, everything. I think it's a real clean look. I like it. The 3D art looks like a bit wonky. Like with with the New Atlantis there, it's kind of just a bit wonky of a model. Maybe they're still kind of adding some detail to that, but it's better than what we had, right? In addition to the city maps, and of course, I would assume the same would be for Sidonia and for this is New Atlantis, but for Freestar Collective towns and settlements, and of course Neon as well. So that's exciting, and here we get, so I'm trying to think, where is that? It doesn't look familiar. Oh, wait. Okay, so that is Aquila. So that is Aquila City. Okay, so I didn't recognize it off the top. Again, because the 3D model looks so strange. Wow, yeah, I can't believe I missed that. I was like, oh, it's just some random outpost. But I was like, oh, it has a lot of different things on it. Oh, that's Aquila in Cheyenne. Absolutely. Yeah, the 3D model looks really weird. I don't know if it's the lighting there, or is anyone else getting that from this? It just looks like Play-Doh, almost. Maybe they'll add in some more detail. I don't know. I don't want to be too critical. All right, and then here's just like a random landing zone they had. And so we do have topography, have the trees, have the mountains, have the hills, kind of see, okay, if I want to get to this place, I could just try to go over this mountain, or I could go around it. That's nice. I would assume that you can also like zoom in on the points of interest to see, okay, what exactly is this? Is this worth my time to go and check out? So yeah, very cool. I'm excited for it. And of course, like once you're in the actual city, they pull up their scanner, and then you can see still exactly where everything is, how far away it is, and it's going to tell you, which, if you're not familiar with that icon, it's going to tell you exactly what it is. So just a more immersive experience, I think. I'm happy with this. I'm excited to get into it. For those of you who are playing on the Steam beta, let us know how this all feels. If it's good, if you like it, if you were fine without it, let us know in the comments. Really, the last big thing we have is the creation kit, but kind of leading up to that, Tim here mentions a couple of things kind of offhandedly, and we get a couple of shots of developers working on things that are interesting, at least. So I just wanted to breeze past those real quick as we kind of come to the end of this video.
Talk about that's down the horizon.
So the team is working on our first land vehicle, so you can drive around on planets. Obviously,
here he says, obviously we're working on a lot more quests, and this is kind of I felt like this was a random thing to show for quests because it's just like design. They're, putting some design stuff on, some clutter on this table. But look in the background here, it looks like a bunch of wanted posters. And so maybe this is just some more bounty missions, or maybe your Aquila City missions or quest lines are going to have more bounties to do. I'm not sure, but that's something I picked up on.
We're working on more quests, and
here it looks like maybe a new suit design, maybe a new enemy design as well. I'm going to blow this up to 8K with some AI technology I have, and I'm going to see if I can look at the file names to see if I can see, okay, what is this? Does this spacesuit have a name? Is this a character name? It could be the suit design for House of Varun. I know we already have the House of Varun zealots, for those old school people. We know we've encountered those before, but maybe there's a different sect out there of the House of Varun that we haven't seen yet. So that's what I'm guessing, maybe. And then, of course, leading up, he mentions this about Creation Kit.
The massive Shattered
Oh, yeah.
Space.
Before we get into Creation Kit, he mentions the massive Shattered Space DLC. And we get this pretty interesting shot of a developer designing a scene that looks like there's a lot going on here. I'll probably try to come back to this in a different video and do a breakdown, do an analysis, and see what we have to work with after I can dig into it with all the 8K footage. Here he talks about the Creation Kit.
That's all very exciting. What about creations? Anything you can share there?
I think we mentioned it earlier this year, but we've sent out our beta toolkit to verified creators. So hopefully more information on that soon.
It's awesome. Thank
Okay, so again, like you said, we already knew that, but it was a part of the video, so wanted to revisit that as well. Verified creators have received, or not all of them, but some of them have received this to start working on their content. If you are a verified creator, I don't know if you're under NDA or anything like that, but if you are and you're watching this, let us know how it feels if you can, or just let us know if you have it and you're working on it. If you want to give yourself a little promotion for in the comments for your mods that are coming out, go ahead and do that. I'm sure people would love to know what is coming. All right, so that's it for kind of the not even a breakdown, but just the synopsis of what this video is and some of the first thoughts that I had. I want to get into just a couple of minutes of the interview that Todd Howard did with Kind of Funny Games. He talks a lot about Starfield. I thought a lot about what he said, but there's one thing I wanted to kind of pick out that I thought maybe was interesting and actual new information. I'm interpreting it a little bit, but first he talks about exploration. And so one of my big things about what I hoped how Starfield would evolve and they would continue working on is how exploration is kind of woven throughout the game loop. And this bums me out a little bit to hear what he has to say, but I want you to hear what he has to say first, and then we'll talk about it, okay?
Games out.
Sure.
But obviously, look, we see the feedback. We see a lot of players saying, this is what I want out of a Bethesda game, which is to explore a world in a certain way. And Starfield didn't give me that. I prefer the way it's done in Fallout or Elder Scrolls, and perfectly understandable, right? In terms of, hey, this is a different experience. And I do think, for us, particularly me going into a science fiction game, I want to be able to land on all the planets. I want the game to say yes to us, knowing that that content is going to be different than you've seen from us in the past when you're exploring a landscape. And that's some of the trade-offs we'll make to do what we think makes, a science fiction game like this that's kind of based in this kind of fiction and reality to make it what it should be. And, each of the franchises should kind of be its own thing.
For sure.
And so obviously, look, there are areas that, the maps or some other things, gameplay options that we're adding, other display modes on console that people have asked for. And we want to do all that stuff, take some time, but we're excited to get stuff out there.
Well, like you said.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. He talks about exploration, and he acknowledges that, yes, in fact, the way they designed Starfield has a different feel from Skyrim and has a different feel from Fallout. And I appreciate that he acknowledges that he kind of said, yes, I know there's some people disappointed, but I was hoping he would follow that up with, but don't worry, we have some ideas in mind to help exploration feel a bit more organic, a bit more natural, a bit more like you just kind of come upon things and it engages you and it interests you and you want to pursue that. But instead, it's not like he doubles down on it, but he indicates that they chose not to do that because they wanted that it was a trade-off to do something else. That he really wanted to be able to explore all of the planets when there's not, much on there to actually explore or care about. Now, I was definitely a defender of Bethesda. Whenever they first started talking about that, I was like, hey, I don't really care if there's much on all of the planets, and I still feel that way. But I do wish that there were some planets that had more of that kind of gravitas of exploration, more things to pull you in, more environmental storytelling, more things to make you curious, to go explore, more little stories that happen on each planet or in each system. I think that is, I'm not a game developer, so technically I don't know why having all these planets meant that they couldn't add in the exploration dynamic like they did in their other games. But I'm really hoping that they still come back to that. I would think that there's a way to mod some of that in, if nothing else, just with more environmental storytelling or more smaller stories that you could kind of weave throughout exploring a system. But I was bummed to hear that it doesn't seem like it's a huge priority for them, at least for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you bummed about that as well, like I am, or did you interpret that differently than I did? Let me know. Well, hey, that is all for our video today. Again, it would mean the world to me if you just gave this video a quick like. Let me know what you think in the comments about these updates. Are you still playing? Is this going to bring you back to Starfield? Are you going to wait until Shattered Space comes out to dive back in? Let us know what your Starfield journey has been like so far. And for now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars.